Besides Venus, Umaisa Man, Gang Act Agbe, Robert Burns, Tay Moose.
What's for you'll go by you, traditional Scottish saying.
Good morning. My name is Calum Stewart, and for the benefit of those who don't know me, I'm a sixth form boarder from Stewart, Scotland, although the accent is a bit of a giveaway. I'm here on a two-term scholarship in the United Kingdom with the English-speaking Union. And even if you don't know me particularly well, I'm sure you've heard tales of a man in a skirt striding across campus, serving up a sheep's heart, brains, and intestines to memorial. A word to the wise? Killed. That's what happened to the last person to call it a skirt. Since arriving here on the hill in January, I've encouraged questions about my homeland from every Martlet I've met, some proving to be more memorable than others. Highlights include, your English is great. When did you start learning? Do you have trees in Scotland? Scotland, that's in England, right? Do you live in a castle? Have you met the Loch Ness Monster? And my absolute favourite, is there sun in Scotland? Inevitably, however, every new conversation gradually meanders toward the question friends and family have asked me over and over again. The question milling in my mind as I wave them goodbye to cross the pond. Why take a gap year? Why Westminster? To understand why, you first need to know a wee bit about me. I was brought up and have spent most of my life just outside the small village of Glassford, Scotland, among the green of the farmland and the heather grouse moors. When I say small, I mean small. Our village and the surrounding farms is home to around 400 people. Everyone knows each other. We have one pub, a small church, and a tiny primary school with 2 classrooms, a playing field and a bus which takes high school students like you or me over to the market town of Stewart. My childhood was idyllic. I wouldn't have had it any other way. But I'm sure you can imagine, as we moved into our teenage years, my peers and I felt increasingly hemmed in, ever eager to fly the nest, to head off to university. A gap year never once crossed my mind. Whilst friends and family acknowledge that I have an opinion on just about everything, they will also attest to my indecision. Dining out at a restaurant is a real problem. I'm easily overwhelmed by choice. You can hedge your bets that when the waiter saunters over, notepad in hand, pen poised above the page, I will frantically flick through that menu, and in the ensuing blind panic, order whatever I see first. Outside the restaurant, my solution to all this indecision is simple. I plan. Weigh up the options, weigh in advance, and stick to whatever decision I arrive at. I make lists, and lots of them. Revision plans, to-do lists, timetables, lists of places I'd like to go, things I'd like to see, jobs I'd like to do, subjects I'd like to touch on in my chapel talk. So you'd be right to think that when it came to university, the most important decision of my school career, I'd have it all figured out far in advance. I was around 10 when I first visited the University of St Andrews. It was there in the 1950s that my granny read a bachelor's in English. And whilst we were only in town to go to the beach and soak up some of that rare Scottish sun, she couldn't resist showing us around her old haunt. The castle, its siege towers, and perched on the cliff, the ruins of the medieval cathedral. Founded in 1413, St Andrews is Scotland's oldest university, and watching the waves of students in in bright red woolen cloaks bob up and down the pier, as they have done after chapel on Sundays for 600 years, 10-year-old me was enchanted, enthralled. This was as close as real-life got to Hogwarts. As I got older, questions other than how similar is this to Hogwarts came to the fore during university tours. I knew I wanted to study English literature with history, so which schools were ranked best in the UK? Well, St Andrews was number one. It had the highest student satisfaction, and where could be better to study Scottish history than Scotland's oldest university? With 10,000 residents, the town dwarfed Glasford, but it retained the same community feel. And it was the only school to offer the production of a documentary, working with the BBC, my dream job, in place of a final dissertation. Every bone in my body was screaming, apply. The sixth formers amongst us will all no doubt be able to relate to the stress of applying to and hearing back from a college or university. A heightened sensation of anticipation, excitement and dread that form has to look forward to. In the UK, students 5 preferred universities have 3 months from January to April in which to deliver the outcome of their decision. And so last year, I was glued to my phone during every waking hour, desperately refreshing the online portal in anticipation of the delivery of my fate, which could arrive at any moment. One thing you should know about Scots is that we're an incredibly dour and superstitious people. Trust me, I don't take giving a chapel talk on Friday the 13th lightly. I firmly believe that what's meant to be will be. That you will generally get back what you put in. It seemed like St Andrews was built for me, and I had doubled down to achieve the exam results that should have more than guaranteed my place. All of which made the rejection that popped into my life with a ping all the more hard to bear. I had spent too many years dreaming of this moment of freedom for it to turn into just another nightmare of indecision. Suddenly, I had 2 weeks to decide between the other 4 universities I had applied and been accepted to. I refused to believe it was true. St Andrews was where I was going. And that was that. The decision had been made years ago. For me, none of the other universities even came close. I whittled it down to Glasgow and Edinburgh, but they were too large. Degree factories. Irreverent concrete jungles of brutalism. Little differentiated them in the league tables, and hardly anything stood out as unique. I couldn't see myself happy enrolled in either. Being denied a place at St Andrews simply strengthened my resolve. So I made what was probably the hardest decision of my life, choosing to reject every offer and leave school that summer with no real plan, no job, and a vague hope that I could reapply in 2018 and this time get in. The last weeks of summer passed by in a flash, and the friends I had grown up with all began to leave home without me. Ben, my best friend, was accepted to St Andrews, and I had to watch from the periphery in anguish as he embarked upon the student life I wished I was living. Without a licence and unable to drive, I was stuck alone at home, in the middle of nowhere, with a rapidly declining sense of purpose and of worth. The previous year had been particularly hard for our family. We lost my mum's stepfather to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Dad's brother to sleep apnea, and his father to grief, all within the space of 1 month. I was particularly close to my grandpa, a determined steelworker, family man and army major who lifted his family out of poverty through sheer hard work and dedication. He would read the paper daily, drank only tea, and spoke eloquently on politics, instilling in me the deep value of education. His last words to me were, "Follow your dreams and never give up." So that August, not only was I affected by time's destruction of the plans we made together, by the Glenfiddich he put aside to celebrate my becoming a man at 18, but by a wider sense that I'd reached for my dreams with everything I had and fallen flat on my face at the first hurdle. Despite giving it my all, I felt I'd failed when my granny, Ben and grandpa had all prospered. I regretted rejecting the other universities. It was clear to me that for whatever reason, I just didn't have the qualities St Andrews was looking for. It wasn't meant to be. 1 month later, and I'd landed myself a job on minimum wage, working Wednesday to Sunday nights as a waiter at a local restaurant, so that I could pay my parents room and board. I tutored English on a Monday night to bring in some extra cash, and spent all my free time engrossed in novels, hiding from the reality of what my life had become. But however much I hated my work, it gradually rekindled my sense of purpose. September also ushered in May's exam results, and I achieved the top mark in English and history, reaffirming that I was just as good as Ben. The confidence boost this gave me meant that when the English-speaking Union, a charity concerned with building Anglo-American relations, emailed me with details of a scholarship to America, I thought I might as well give it a shot. My dad has family from Michigan who are always touring Scotland, and I was eager to learn more about their culture and immerse myself in the American way of life. I have been interested in American politics for a long time, organising the Edinburgh Women's March 2017 with a friend. And what's more, the boarding school experience appealed to me immensely. The restaurant I was working in announced that they were closing. I did clarify it wasn't because of me. And I found myself with nothing else planned for the second half of my year. In time, I was shortlisted to interview in London before successfully being allocated a place for 2 terms here at Westminster School. Success in the ESU application process drove me to reapply to St Andrews with renewed energy and optimism, not to mention a much better personal statement. It had been my only homework for 8 months, after all. And over spring break, my gap year finally paid off. I was given my place at St Andrews, where I will at long last begin my bachelor's degree in English and history this September. So what had changed? Why accept me this year and not last? My qualifications and exam predictions were the exact same. The application process was just as competitive, if not more so. All that had changed was my life experience and sense of self. I realised that the idea of finding yourself on a gap year is quite the cliche. But cliches are there for a reason. I was forced to reevaluate the course I wanted to study, my choice of university, and recommit to each with renewed vigour. This last year has been both the best and worst of my life. I was devastated by rejection, had my confidence crippled, but earned my first honest wage. I have made so many new friends and memories here that I will cherish for a lifetime. Whilst it knocked me down, time and time again, time also built me back up, stronger than before, with a greater sense of self and purpose moving forward, renewed passion for my subjects, and ambition for my life goals. The message I want to leave you with is this: life will knock you down. But if you can find the courage and conviction to follow your dreams and never give up, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. With the right work ethic, what seems meant for you won't ever pass you by.